Folks, welcome back to the Get Wired podcast. Appreciate you being here. If you have no idea what you've stumbled upon, essentially in these episodes, usually I'm actually sorting wire or doing stuff with the e-waste, but I've kind of moved it into a bit more of just a work with me session while I do something, and we just talk about a topic, usually what's ever on my mind, or things that have been coming up or that I've been hearing in that I just hear the chatter about, or the questions I get asked, and kind of like whatever's on my mind. It's just a topic of talking business, reselling, but also about, just leveling up in general. And while I do this today, I'm going to be getting into some clothing because I actually need to start doing this because there was a whole bunch that arrived damaged. Like this is all ripped open, as you can see, probably just. So I want to start to go through that today. But the topic I wanted to address with you guys, and I realized I don't have my coffee with me, so I'm going to grab my coffee and we're going to come back. The topic that I wanted to address with you guys is like, in this can relate to anything. This can relate to business, can relate to reselling specifically, or it can even relate to just life in general. But I think one of the biggest questions that I get asked on a regular basis, it's probably a couple times a week, where I just hear people always talking about is, how do you have continuous growth? And the point that they make to me is like, I'm doing the work, I'm putting in all these things, but I'm just not seeing the results. And look, it's a very common thing. And look, I'm not going to lie, like there's still times where I feel like that. Still times where I get frustrated, where I feel like I'm doing so much, but I'm not getting the results that I want to see. And that's the topic I kind of want to address today, because it's very easy to get lost in all of this stuff, especially when, if you're comparing to reselling or anything like that. There's so much of it online. It's very easy to see other people's highlight reels. And I've spoken about this before, but I think you got to ask yourself this first question that I'd get you to ask is, so you got to ask yourself, yes, okay, you might be doing lots of work, you're spending heaps of time to see this grow, but the work that you're doing, is it actual work that's going to move the needle? And what I mean by that is, so since I started, and the progress that we've had, the best progress that we've had has occurred in the last 2.5 years, because that's when I really kind of clicked and realized it's time to, step things up a bit. But it's when, we started moving the needle, but we've been growing on average for the last 5 years, 19% quarter on quarter. Compounding growth. Now that's because I've continuously worked on moving the needle, into a new position, meaning we're not always doing the same. We're always doing a little bit more. Now, coming back to the premise of, it's like, okay, you feel like you're doing lots of work, working hard, but you're not getting the results. So the question I have to ask you is then, so what results are you expecting on the basis of the input that you're putting? If you're expecting, let's say, if we keep it to reselling, just to make it easier for people to understand, if you're doing reselling and you're getting 10 sales a day, right? At what point, hopefully at what point you went from doing 5 sales a day to 10 sales a day, right? And what was the difference? What changed? What were you doing differently? And if you can start to realize the difference, did it just happen overnight? Or did you start sourcing better product? Or were you working differently? Were you listing more? What was it, right? Were you maybe adjusting your pricing? I think when it comes to moving forward, the reason why a lot of people get so stuck of not being able to work and see the results that they want to see, and it comes back to the premise I'm always talking about, is like, do you even know what you're working towards? Now, for me, I know what I'm working towards. I want to build something which is going to be way bigger than me, that doesn't require me to operate. And, it means I'm going to have a bigger team, I'm going to scale, and I want to see where we can take the business in that sense over the next 5-10 years. And I've been working towards that since I started. And the goal continuously changes and gets bigger and whatever, but you have to be asking yourself, well, what do you want, right? Now, if you're a part-timer and you're doing this on a side hobby basis, and you're seeing other people talking about how to do $100,000 in sales, or I'm sharing $100,000 90-day total and things like that, it can be very both motivating but also overwhelming, because you think, oh wow, I wish I could be doing that. And it's like, well, I mean, you can, but we're not comparing apples to apples here. We're not comparing the same bases. I'm working towards something which I want to be, you know, $1 million business, versus you're working to something which maybe you just want to earn an extra $500 a week. And there is nothing wrong with this, right? So if you know explicitly in detail what it is you're trying to achieve, you're going to be able to achieve it so much easier, because you're able to start working towards it. I guess one way that you can look at it, if you feel like you're doing heaps, you feel like you're working heaps, you're not really seeing the progress, if you have a to-do list, one, do you even have a to-do list? But secondly, if you have a to-do list, if you were to give that to-do list to someone else, would they be able to understand what it is that you're actually working towards? Do they actually know, could they even interpret and understand that they know what you're trying to do? And it's very easy to just be do, right? But it's not about just do. We want to be doing stuff that's actually getting us in the right direction moving forward. And we want to be seeing those results. So what do those results look like? Here's a cool little Santa Cruz, right? So you got to define what those results were. And a point that I'll run further on this is, it's so easy to get stuck up on copying others. Now, I am not here to tell you how to run your business. I'm not here to tell you how to be the best reseller in the world, because I'm not the best reseller in the world, so I definitely can't answer that one. But I can provide you some insight of how I've been doing things, what things have been working for me, and what doesn't work for me. And what doesn't work for me is blindly copying someone else. Now, I have learnt so much from other people, be it my competitors, my friends, my peers, randoms on the internet, whatever. But they're more so of how I go around doing things. When you're not sure what to do, you find an answer. And the best way to find that is usually YouTube, and you can see other people and how they're doing it and why they're doing it that way. But you don't have to do it the same way. Just because someone is doing something does not mean it is the right way. Even me doing the way I do things. Not everyone likes to outsource the washing. Not everyone likes to do all these different things. That is fine. Again, different business models, different intentions. Geez, that is a big bird. And different approaches, right? But I remember when I started, I'm getting warm. I remember when I started, I had people explicitly say to my face, and I will never forget it. I will never ever forget it, saying, Chris, you cannot do this business selling clothing, right? It's just not possible. Now, sure, our business is not 100% clothing. Our revenue comes from 75% of our clothing, and we're making it work. We continue to make it work. So just because someone says you can't do something doesn't mean you can't do something. It just means they can't do it. They haven't been able to do it. So that's why you got to be so careful when people tell you things on the internet. Even me saying all this to you, you got to take it with a grain of salt and understand it in your own understanding and perspective. But seriously, do not just copy people or say, go do this, go buy these items, go do that. That's not how it works. 1, do you even enjoy that? 2, does it even make sense for you? 3, is that even applicable for what you're trying to achieve? Right? I mean, sure, if we wanted to make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time, why would you not just go buy? And Alex Hermosi says this, and look, it cracks you up. If you want to make $1 million this year, go buy something for $1 million and flip it for $2 million. You're going to make $1 million, right? Why aren't we doing that? Right? But it's not that simple. If you got $1 million, maybe it is. But you see my point. So like, we could be flipping houses, we could be flipping cars, we could be doing all those different things. You could fix computers, you can have a service business, you can mow lawns, you can, sell consulting services, you could, build a course in something that maybe you're an expert in something, right? Maybe you know how to build chopping boards or something, I don't know. And you can teach others how to do it. This is really random. And teach other people how to do it. So anyway, just because other people are doing it a certain way and it's working for them, it does not mean it's going to work for you. Because you know, they've got their passion behind it, they've got their intentions behind it, they've got their goals behind it, they've got their reasoning behind it. But if you're just going to go out there and copy someone else's plan or follow a course to, you know, be this or that, you really got to understand why you're doing it. Because again, putting the lens on reselling is not a quick rich get scheme. Sorry, get rich quick scheme. It just doesn't work that way. You know, I'm trying to build something that over time will continuously generate things faster, but it has taken so much time to get to this position, to get to this point, and I'm still doing heaps, right? So anyway, so that's point number 2, is don't copy others blatantly. You really gotta understand what it is you want and then pick and choose, take from other people. This does not just apply to reselling or eBay. I'm talking about anything you do. If you're training to do running, you know, you can't just copy someone else's plan. You know, they might have been running for 20 years. You can't just go out there and think, oh yeah, I can just do his plan because it gets him the best results. It gets the best results for him or her because they're already so far, you know, in their game, in their journey. So you've really got to take that into account. These don't have a brand on them. That's annoying. I don't like when I get stuff with no brands on it. Anyway, so that's point. The next point is maybe you're growing. You're able to see the growth. You know, maybe you're getting more items than ever. Maybe you're selling more items than ever, but it's just chaos, right? And I think this one's really important is when we scale, and this again applies to anything, when you take on more things in life, when you start trying to do more, when you're trying to achieve more things, all of a sudden it gets very, very, your life gets busy and you take on too much. And what you end up doing is you're not creating scale with system, you're creating just noise, lots of things happening. And I know a lot of people get, you know, triggered by me and my warehouse and the chaos it is. For me, it's controlled chaos because I know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and where everything needs to be. And yeah, maybe I could probably just move things the first time into the right place, but sometimes I don't know on the fly. But you have to be super careful because I got myself into this position, so I need to be willing to get myself out of it. No one else is going to do that for you. So you got to be thinking about, well, like if you're trying to build something that's sustainable, it's not even about necessarily scale, but just sustainable. Nice little Zimmerman. Sustainable. You want to make sure that if you disappear, when I say just if you go away, does everything stop? Or do things rely on you, right? Or can you go away and things keep moving? Now, this is obviously very specific to business a bit more, but it's the same for like, you know, if you're a parent and, you know, you've got kids and you go away and, you know, are they going to be able to fend for themselves or do they rely on you? All those different things, right? So it applies to life, but you've got to understand of like, when you're not seeing the results, you've got to be questioning. It's like, well, are there things in there that are causing reasons for the results not to occur? And sometimes it can be us creating too much effort, too much chaos, too much work for us to control. And that's why I went down the route of, you know, hiring out and outsourcing and things like that, because I knew that I'm not able to do all these things. I'm not able to, you know, keep up with it. And that's okay. And that's how I wanted to build my business. When here I am still sorting clothes because I love this part, but I really shouldn't be doing this. But at this point, this is the stuff I enjoy and I love seeing the products that I purchase, but I need to see it to see what I've purchased. Does it meet my quality standard? Am I happy with my supplier? And that's why it's important that I do this. But I can have someone else photo or listing or, you know, doing the postage while I do this as well, which that's not happening because it's 7:30 in the morning and no one else is here yet. But you see my point. So if you're trying to see growth, results, and here I am saying that I'm trying to build a business that suits my lifestyle, you know, we've got lots of people coming and going in terms of the business growing, taking on more than ever, you've got to have a system in place of how you process that. Just like if you were at home, you've got systems and routines in place to enable your week to work. I would think. That's why routine is key. Schedules are key. Have a schedule, build a schedule. Have a routine that's going to enable you to be successful and not have you being confused and not sure what to do. Nice little white fox piece. Not too bad. I don't even know what this box is. It's probably on the bottom of it. Yeah, so that's that. The next thing that I'll then talk about, which it kind of sums it all up, and look, we've been talking for 15 minutes, so this will probably go for about 20 minutes, is the other thing is when we're trying to grow, and this is super relevant to personal growth. I'm not even talking reselling, right? But we expect growth with very little friction. My, you're going to be surprised when you grow up. And when I say grow up, when you have growth. Unfortunately, in order to grow, we have to get through friction. The friction is what enables us to grow. The amount of times, and this is why I see a lot of people not seeing the results that they want to see, is because they're not willing to work through the friction. They don't want to take a risk. And I'm not here to say take risks, like go do something silly. You got to have calculated risks. But what I'm referring to is I've had people say to me, it's like, oh, don't have this, or I'm unable to source that, or oh, I've been trying to do more, but I can only get 10 up, or all I'm hearing is so many excuses. And then the friction points that come up with it, it's like, well, you know what's wrong. Why don't you tackle it, right? A lot of the time, the easiest way through getting the result we want is to go through the hard way. And what that means is like, you have to beat the hard thing before you can level up. That's why I relate all of this to like video game. And I don't play a lot of video games of recent, although I am getting Donkey Kong today. It's meant to be arriving in the mail on Switch 2. But in order to level up, in order to get to the next stage, in order to get to the next progress in the game, usually you have, you have a level where you have to go through, whether it's a platform or whatever. You get to the end and then there's a boss, or there's a puzzle, or there's a dungeon, or whatever it is. You have to work your way through it. You have to figure out how to jump up on the ledge. You have to figure out how to defeat the boss. You have to figure out where the hidden key is. You have to figure out how to open the chest. You have to figure something out. There's friction points. There's falling down. You die 7 times. You have to reload. You have to restart. You have to keep giving it a go. And then eventually, you beat the boss. You beat that level. You move on to a whole new level. And now all of that stuff is easy. Now you've moved up to the next level. Everything has compounded to this point, and it's smooth sailing. Right? Until you realize, all right, let's get harder. I'm ready to face this new boss. You take on that new boss. It's all hard. Oh my gosh, I can't do this. You try something new. You learn. You fail. You learn. You fail. You learn. You fail. You learn. You fail. You learn. You succeed. That's all it is. So you need to invite friction. That's why I talk about. I'm just going to give you guys some perspective here. That's why I talk about when I'm doing all this clothing. Right? That's 19 boxes of clothing. We have all of this, right? All of this has to be photoed. Now, for me, that tells me like we're not getting that done quick enough. Now, some of my staff are away for school holidays, so that makes sense. But even down here, right? I want to build all of this out. Like we get about 15 boxes, 200 kilos of e-waste a week. But I want to understand is like, what is it going to mean when I get double that? These media bins that we sort. I need to understand it's like, okay, I need more of it coming through so I can break the friction points. Because at the moment, I can have that done in less than a day, right? But if I had double that come through, how am I going to make it quicker? How am I going to make it perform better and smoother? The only way to know that is through friction. That is the only way. When we were building this out, what takes too much time? What is frustrating people? Once we know what frustrates, we can fix it. One of the biggest things, the best things that we did was adding measurements of inches and centimeters on both sides of the rule. We did that so early on because the most common question I got is like, what's this in inches? They can't figure out how to do a conversion, and just to avoid it, I stopped writing them in the descriptions. Just taking a photo of that gives them both measurements. Happy days. If people can't look through a photo of a listing that we've provided them that gives them every single piece of information they need to be able to make an informed decision, they shouldn't be buying the item. That's my opinion. Anyway, my point is, you have to invite friction. If you're getting friction, it means you're growing. But you have to understand, what are you going to do to beat it? And are you willing to beat it? So to sum all this up, if you feel like you're doing so much but you're not seeing results, you need to start asking yourself these questions. What work am I doing that is not moving me closer to where I want to be? What work are you doing that is moving you closer to where you want to be? If you don't know where you want to be, figure that out. The next question then is, what are you copying others doing without, taking any of it into consideration? You're just copying blindly. Think about that. Understand why you copy it. Understand why this is even being done in the first place. So understand why that person does it that way. And then understand is like, can you shift that, or can you adjust that? Or should it be different for your processes or your life or your business or whatever? The next thing is then, as you're scaling, right, are you creating chaos or is it controlled chaos, right? And controlled chaos is what you want because it means you know what you're doing. But don't use that as an excuse to just go do these silly things, right? Have a plan, understand. I'm willing to take on more stuff because I have a somewhat plan of how to do it, but I'm ready to grow into that, right? I have a system already. And then it comes down to, if you want to see the ultimate growth, you have to be willing to invite the friction. Be ready to learn. And when I say be ready to learn, it means it's going to feel like you're failing, that you're not getting the progress that you want. That doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're just not leveling up yet, right? Now, there's something that I'm working on, which is, this is stuff that I'm dealing with. My own friction points or my own, mindset issues because of what other people think. But last year, I think it was last year, the year before, I did a level up program. Nothing to do with reselling, nothing to do with business. But, with my podcast, Further Your Lifestyle, my goal is always to help other people further their own lifestyle. I want to see that I want people to be able to do what they want to do, like this, but for whatever it is their passion is, or goal is, or dream is. And I want to help people achieve that. So I am working on something of whether it's going to be a 90-day banger or a 6-week intensive, essentially where it's probably going to be one-on-one, work together, and all it is 100% accountability. I'm there to listen, I'm there to guide, I'm there to help. I'm not there to do. I won't be there to hold your hand in terms of do the work for you, but I'm going to be there to help you get to the next step, work through the problems, help you solve those problems yourself. If that's something you're interested in, and I spoke about this in one of my videos the other day around, are people interested in that kind of mentoring? I'm not here to be your reseller guru. I'm not here to tell you how to run your business. But what I will do is I'll take my knowledge, my understanding, my approach to life, my lessons, my learnings, my experience, and work with you in helping you achieve your best potential. Now, I can't do that for you. You are the only one that can unlock your potential. The value I provide is the support, the guidance, the structure, the tools, the insight, my own experience, and the confidence to be able to say, like, no, you are capable of doing this. We just got to unlock it. So that's coming. I'm working on it. I'm just going to do it. I'm really, really grateful for some friends that have, really, really challenged me on this and said, you got to do it. You just got to work on it. You got to stuff everyone else who, the haters that don't appreciate what it is that you can offer, and, remove that noise. And, I want to help other people thrive. Of course, I'm going to charge for it. It's my time, it's my effort, but it's not about me here telling you how to unlock your business and, make $100,000 or anything like that. It's purely like, you can come at me with like, hey, you want to start a little YouTube channel and you want to show how you handcraft wooden figures or something, but you don't know where to start. We're going to get into that, break it down of how to get you started. It's not about, a lot of these things isn't even about the actual thing itself. It really comes down to our individual selves and the things that are blocking ourselves, the lack of confidence, the doubt. And, I remember when I did my first kind of level up thing where I took a 12-week course with my business coach at the time, and, I thought it was fluff. Absolutely thought it was fluff. And, it changed my perspective. And look, some of that I can credit a lot of that helped me elevate my business, because it gave me a different thinking approach to, how I wanted to do business. Now, that was specifically business. I don't want to do specifically business. I love talking business though. If it's what you need help with, that's what we can go through. But my point of this is like, you don't need me. You don't need anyone else. Honestly, you don't. But I would also say that there is this level of ignorance tax. When we don't know what we don't know, it makes it very hard to grow, right? That's why friction is important, because as soon as you get through those friction points, you now know that, and you know how to apply yourself to that. So by essentially going into a course or a level up, or a 6-week smasher or something that is going to put you under the pump, get you moving, get you motivated, it's going to make you work differently, right? And it's going to make you think outside the box. It's going to get you energized. It's going to get you moving. And that's why it's so important. You have to put money behind this stuff, because if you're not even willing to invest in yourself to level up, I mean, what hope have you got? I mean, I have spent so much money in this business because I see its potential and I know what it can do. But, there's things in there which haven't worked out, right? But I will continuously do it, because it's just a matter of time that it will continue to flourish even more and more and more. Anyway, people don't have to get involved with that. If you're interested in it, I'll be sending out some details. Look, this might still take this might not come out till after September, but I am working on it and I want to help people, but I want people to understand that, it comes with a cost. It comes with my time. And if you're willing to level up, it comes for a cost for you, commitment. It's going to require you to do things you haven't done before, to face your fears, to, have to deal with friction points, deal with things that make you uncomfortable. Unfortunately, that's the reality that's the cost of leveling up. All right, team, that's it from me. I hope this has helped you understand how to grow a little bit more. If people are interested and want to chat about any of this, more than happy to do so. Continue the conversation in the comments below. Yeah, jump on down there. Excited to be able to help people where I can. That's why all my content I try to make as open and as free as possible, because a lot of that stuff is practical. It helps you in a certain point in time, but where I think it's very hard to put on a video or on a channel is individual support, help, and accountability. I can give you tools and templates here that you can go apply, but I think when you're having some level of accountability, coaching, one-on-one, mentoring experience, it forces you to level up, because you're working against yourself to prove yourself that you're better than this, to then go back and play it to whoever it is that you're being accountable to, that you're good enough. Now, ideally, the only person you need to be accountable to is yourself. That's all that matters. But it's easier said than done. So that's where I can help you. Anyway, team, really appreciate you being here. We'll be back here again next week doing it again. You have a wonderful day. Ciao.